we've just seen. And to his right, we have Carla Andrade, the collaborator of Luis Patiño's Coast of Death, Costa de Morte, which we saw a few days ago. And then to her right on the end here, we have Felipe Lage, the producer of all three films in the Galician cinema program. We'll begin with the film that we've just seen, Eloy, your film. Arianos, sorry. It's a great film, I think. Firstly, how did you come to make such a film with such a distinct landscape? Were you already familiar with this area of Galicia?
Not this area. I come from place northern from the border, but in a way it's like the inland of Galicia, the mountains, and in a way the landscape was quite familiar. Even though the place I come from and the place where I'm most familiar with the landscape is not so much mountains. It's a little bit more relaxed, we say.
And how long did you spend preparing the film and casting? Because it's an adaptation, I'm right in saying, but to watch it, I wouldn't have had a clue that it's an adaptation. And what exactly is an adaptation of?
It's by I think it's more like a free. I mean, adaptation because we wanted to say like freely inspired by the play of Bosque. But the thing is, like, we use actually the dialogues, some dialogues from the play. So yeah, we say adaptation as a way to say that we didn't follow. The film is not pretending to be like a translation into a film of the play, which is much more like complicated, much longer, and the plot of the play is much more complicated.
And it's Galician, the play?
It's a Galician writer called Genaro Mariñas del Valle, which is not really well known. Because I wanted to make a film where the Galician language was very important, but I didn't think that I was able to write the script myself. So we started to look to plays or some text that we could be like this, like the place to work with the non-professional actors. And then this guy appeared. I was really expecting. Most of the things we were looking at, we were searching, were remitting to this kind of stereotypic way of portraying the rural. I mean, the poor peasant and the land owner, which is a bad guy, you know. And then appeared this guy who was really very inspired by existentialists by that time, in the 60s. And yeah, we think that this play was good to work with the non-professional actors.
And how long did you work with the non-professional cast?
Yeah, we look into the two theater groups, like amateur groups that they were in the area. And then we worked for almost 1 year with them. Yeah, almost 1 year. Preparing memorizing and doing rehearsals with the dialogues, and then the shooting was about 5 weeks.
5 weeks. So, and the non-professional cast have seen the film, I presume.
Yes.
How did they respond to it? Because it seemed as if they were very much enjoying being part of the film.
Yeah. They really. I showed to them, and then they say, we're very happy because it took really long to the film to be finished. After the first shooting, it was still 2-3 years until the film was finished. So at some point, they didn't think it was going to be a film. So they were very happy that there was finally a film. But they say, not to me, but after I knew that they said like, so much work for such a little thing. That was more or less their opinion about the film. Yeah, because it was 1 year preparing the film, and then the dialogues we shoot, there were much more dialogues, much more scenes that finally they are not in the film, and so much landscape they didn't understand why. I mean, maybe they think that they were going to be the main characters all the time in the film.
Because Bosque isn't originally set in this region, could it be translated to other landscapes?
Yeah, it's an existentialist text play, and I think that was the idea why we like it, because it gives you a lot of freedom to the plot, the conflict of the. It's more philosophical in the idea, so that was the idea that we can adapt this or take some parts of this play because it gives us a lot of freedom.
And yet you've managed, I think, very successfully to imbue your own thematic layers on about the landscape in general, and it seems very much a place that's trapped in the past. It wasn't until the very end that we saw a sense of modern technology, but obviously you were attracted to this. The only thing I knew, or it was written, I mean, in the papers before we started shooting, is like I didn't want things in the image where you could recognize, you could relate to a concrete historical time. I mean, not to have an iPhone, or not to have, or not to have something that you know that it was that it didn't exist after the 20s. I didn't want the place or themselves to be not in the present. It could be in the present, but you don't have nothing to say to you that is in the present. Neither that they were like in the conventional fiction films, that they dress the people as it's supposed to be. And it's authentic in that sense. It's very representational of this region, this agricultural.
For them, no. I mean, I think it is in a way, but not really. I don't know if for them, because some of them. I mean, one of the guys at the bar is a police officer. The other is works in a bank, or things like this, So in a way, it's fake, but I think their faces, the way they sing, these kind of things. The bar was a real bar, so this kind of things is what I'm interested in. And if this is in the present or this is in the past, I wanted that there was the audience, the spectator, to think or say if this could be now or this not. It's not possible anymore.
Both, perhaps, I thought.
That was the idea, to be more, not trying to fake that they were in the past, but neither trying to force that they are, and dress them with things that you could identify as, something in the present, like an apple or whatever.
Yeah. And this is also evident in the actual location of the region, because it is a borderland, right? It is on this threshold of this other liminal space, if you like, and obviously that's a strong theme in the work, and identity, and I wonder if that's the point at which we expand the discussion perhaps into Galician cinema in general. Felipe, you're the producer of all three films that we've seen this week at Kino Otok. I wonder, in Victor Paz, the curator of the program, in his text in the catalogue, he mentions very early the Audiovisual Centre of Galicia, is it? And that was founded in 2007. Obviously it's played a big, significant role in the development of Galician cinema. I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about that and how it works.
So the center is not a film, it's not a university, it's not a training place. It was just it's a public body for funding films. but they came up with a new system, which, as I explained the other day, for grants for young filmmakers, and grants that were given directly to them and not to production companies. Given to them and to the freedom of being able to spend it in the way they wanted. So that made that it allowed the generation of filmmakers to be as free as they wanted to be. Well, those films are part of the results of that program. A program that is slowly disappearing, unfortunately, but that's the times we live.
It's disappearing already?
Well, now they...
No,
Sorry?
desapareció 2 años.
Yeah, for 2 years there was no program, and then, for example, last year the budget was 60,000 euros, which is almost nothing. It's just to say it's still there, but what can you make? For example, they were giving, I don't know, they gave 6,000 euros to 5 shows. Well, it's a beginning, something, it's not bad, but at the beginning, for example, the budget was something like 400,000. So yeah, it allowed films like Arrayanos, Captains, some to exist because it was the only funding, and some others like Arrayanos to start and to exist.
And it's granted a great deal of autonomous filmmaking, if you like, in giving filmmakers the freedom to work outside of an industrial traditional practice. And this idea of autonomy, I'm wondering how it relates to the idea of this Galician cinema, because as a critic I'm very wary of falling into cliches and calling this a movement, which it very much isn't. I think the 3 films that we've seen this week show a diversity and range that if it was a movement it would perhaps not have. What to you is Galician cinema? Do you feel this is conscious, a conscious thing? Are you aware of it when you're making films? Do you feel Galician in any way, or is it something that critics are bringing into the limelight without any kind of justification?
Well, I think that the identity is really on the films, but then to call it a movement is probably not too much. But this is just the beginning, Few films. There is some talent, quite good films, and we'll see what happens in the future. I mean, the thing started from a group of critics in Galicia, called it the New Galician Way. It was a kind of, they've seen some shows where together with the artists and they were seeing the potential. And as well, they wanted to study something kind of a provocation as well to what was done in Galicia, usually in a more industrial way. So it worked as it was kind of a provocation, like, you'll see, those guys, they have something to say. But as I said, yeah, we did some films, but we have to keep on working.
It's a very strong community as well, because critics are also programmers in Galicia and filmmakers, and there's this real strong sense of community, and I've had the pleasure of going to Galicia and meeting a lot of these people and recognising subsequently the names and the credits, and you get this sense that there's a unity there that perhaps isn't there in other regions of Spain. Or do you feel that in any way? And also to branch out into still photography, Carla, because you are a photographer in your own right and work in landscape photography in ways. Do these currents within cinema extend beyond that, do you think? And does it incorporate a Galician art, if you like, in general?
I think maybe the problem is like that maybe you have here and in many other countries, that is the centralism. That Spain is a country in terms of cultural and politics and money. It's still is very centralist, and I think maybe the difference with these films is that for the first time, the cinema which was made in Galicia was not supposed to, the reference, the focus, it was not in Madrid, because at this moment, most of the cinema which was done in Galicia was the way of doing it, and the ideal was like the films that were made in Madrid, more like this industrial fiction with actors, you know, famous actors in Spain, etc., and also in Barcelona. And for the first time, I think that the people, producers, and authors, we start to have different references. We were not trying to be as the cinema which was done in Madrid or in Barcelona. More, maybe a little bit more in Barcelona, like with The Master, these kind of films. And I think this is I think this is the main difference. Of course, they are different. Also because we don't have professional actors usually, and the regular the cinema has. But I think it's about where we're looking, where we are looking to.
So in many ways it's conditioned by the landscape itself, because I was going to ask and realised very quickly it was a bit of a stupid question, but a film like Costa de Morte, for instance, couldn't be made in Madrid. But then, of course, Madrid doesn't have that kind of sense of preserved landscape. It's very much more urban. But Carla, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your working practice as a still photographer, and then how that was expanded upon when you were working on a moving image with Luis on Costa de Morte.
Yes, well, I want also to talk about the question you did before. If the question was if I don't like to separate like Galician artists made another thing different. I don't think so. In fact, we all live. He lives in Lisbon. Me, I live everywhere. No, so I don't think so. But it's true that. Because we all are from the same region, we have, I don't know, but a similar feeling to reality, you know, and landscape, of course, is very, very important, because Galicia has a very strong tradition, rural tradition, no? Most of the population lives in rural areas, so, and Galicia is also like separated from the rest of the Europe. No, it's far away in the corner, no, far away of everything. And landscape has a lot of meaning, no, for Galicia. For example, in Galician language, there are a lot of names for different kinds of earth, no, of land. I don't know how to say. So it's obvious that landscape is very important for us. And for me, as a photographer, Galician photographer, this landscape is important because also Galician people, we believe a lot we have a lot of mystical myths, and a lot of magic stories, and death is always very present in our culture. It's very important. Death, the other world, the rational part of the reality, all this universe are inside of us. And landscape represent this. No, landscape represent the mystery. A mystery. No, it's immensity. Immensity is that thing that goes beyond reality. No, so. Landscape means this for me, for Lois also. And yes.
And perhaps it remains that way because it's, even visibly to look at, it's comparatively untouched as a region. I mean, Costa de Morte was traditionally thought of as the end of the world. And when I went to Santiago de Compostela in December where we met, it very much felt that idea persisted. I mean, not literally, but there was this kind of close-knit unity and community to people, and because I sensed a comparison between that region and where I live in the northeast of England, it's very much, it's not about a togetherness necessarily because you live in Lisbon, Eloy, but it's about even on a subconscious level being almost opposed to London, for instance, in the northeast of England. It's very kind of removed from that. And I just wonder if, to what extent that still exists. Do you still feel that there's in Spanish filmmaking, is it still too focused around the greater cities like such as Madrid and Barcelona?
No, of course, as Eloy said, everything happens in Madrid and Barcelona. And those things were quite, our things were quite unexpected, right? Well, what do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, I wanted to say that this is very maybe it's not very interesting, but at the same time it's playing some things that these films are much more that they were made in the ways Felipe is playing. They were giving a little bit of money to the directors. They were 8% of the whole budget of Galician public film funding, and the response was when the films came was they didn't go up with this, they go to zero because I don't know.
Because it's stupid.
Yeah, I mean.
Politics. But
yeah,
but they're not.
Because I don't know. We represent. I don't know. I don't know the answer why they decided not to go. At least keep it in the 8% of the budget, of the whole budget. They went to zero, and I guess it's like I don't know. In a way, even though there was unexpected in a way, and it was unexpected for us to maybe that we are a threat, or I don't know.
These things are very complex issues, of course, and because
Yeah.
you said politics there, Felipe, was one reason. Obviously, everything in funding is political, but I just wondered, because Oliver's film, Oliver Lage, You're All Captains, that we saw earlier this week, that was filmed in Morocco, and Oliver is continuing to work there, and that was the kind of breakthrough for this new Galician cinema, and it was obviously very well received. It won the Presky Prize at Cannes, and then the Fifth Gospel of Caspar Hauser won the Presky Prize in Rotterdam.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously there's a critical attention being made on an international level. There's, Galician cinema has become a thing almost overnight, and so there's a contradiction there between its growing popularity and growing acclaim, but then back home the domestic situation is there's no funding or pure funding.
Mm.
I just wondered, why?
So there's something you've seen now in Rayanos, and you were asking Eloy, which is the isolation, and saying, well, what era, in which era is the film based? And Eloy was saying, well, and his intention was it to be undetermined. And the thing is that many things that are still in Galicia are from very old times. Like, I won't say, well, it's probably too much, but medieval times. But some relationships there between still that thing of, how do you call it? It's not feudalism, but it's, let's say, it's the feudalism that in the rest of Europe probably, well, it evolved much more, and in Galicia it didn't evolve that much. So you still have that thing of the landlord, and so politics as well are very much determined by that. And of course we are nobody for our Lord. So the interest is not there, and money goes to others. That's that. Eloy said the 8% of the budget was going to those films. Now it's probably 1% or something like that. But the question, and maybe the question to this audience, is that if you know any other Galician film than those. That's what we ask in general, and they don't have an answer for that. But they say, there is an industry. I say, well, what industry, Because the industry is only working on because you are supporting it. And I say, well, but look at your films, it's not a big audience. You say, well, of course, it works in the niche, there is some prestige, and as well with those limited budgets, that's what we can do. We may try to do other things with bigger budgets, which is the intention with starting with Oliver's film, to see we are trying to raise a bigger budget and to see what we can do, what we can deliver as a film.
It's a very contradictory period, I guess, that is unfolding. Do we have a question from the audience, perhaps, about Arianos or Galician cinema, or what time kick-off is in football? Yes?
What time is the kick-off in football? What was the history in Galician cinema? Was there a strong tradition that is being drawn on or being moved away from? Was there filmmaking in Galicia during like post-Franco times that is significant?
Probably Eloy knows more than me, but there was not very many things. In the 70s there were some films done, right, some intentions, then some video artists in the 80s that got some attention as well. And then there were three in the year 89. 89. Three feature films were done, and those were the three first feature films done in Galicia the same year. So of course there was not a big tradition of cinema. So this is not breaking with anything from the past. It's probably more breaking with what is that supposed industry I was talking. Because yes, many films were done in an industrial way, and of course when you see those films, there is not different artistical purpose, which is singular, but it's also a production, a different purpose in production, far away from the industrial way, smaller teams, smaller projects, etc., taking care of all of things in a personal way.
What about Luis's parents, Luis Patino's parents are painters, you were telling me the other day. But I was interested to learn that, and then I was interested to also learn that they're not landscape painters. So, is there a strong artistic tradition? Are there other strong artistic traditions in Galicia that aren't cinematic that you guys or girls feel that you're drawing upon?
Yes. Luis' parents are abstract painters, expressionist abstract painters, yeah, and they were the pioneers in a way, of a strong artistic movement that it was in Galicia in the 80s. Not especially cinema movement, but there were a lot of musicians, painters, poets, writers. And yes, in that period there were also a lot of things were happening in Galicia in arts, but in cinema I really don't know.
And your own still photography draws upon Galician photography, or do you feel not especially Galician in your own work?
As a photographer, as a visual artist, not especially. There are also very good photographers now in Galicia, and visual artists in general, but no, really, I don't feel like I'm Galician.
Another question, perhaps, from the audience. Do you feel? Oh, yes, sorry.
Sorry, I would like to ask. It's very nice how it was really visible that there is a limbo, and when the baby cow was born, there was heaven, and then fire, there was a bit of hell, and because of the whole timelessness, you're not aware if it's now, or if it's in the future, or if it's in the past, because of whole generality, spacelessness of the film. Do you perhaps, as authors, have a certain thing that you believe, because of this whole concept, you did not portray, something that you wanted to say, perhaps, but that was left unsaid because of the whole timeless and spaceless concept of the film? felt like you wanted to.
That I
say
feel
that
now?
is kind of
You mean that I feel now that something I wanted to tell but I didn't do? Or?
Also, doesn't matter now or while we were shooting, was there something that was left out because of the idea that you wanted to show that it can be anywhere and it can be anytime?
Yeah, many things. I don't know if I really understand the question. But yeah, when I make films, I don't really. I'm very concerned about how you say embalsamar in English. What they do with the
pharaohs.
pharaohs.
Yeah.
What they did with the pharaohs.
Embalming.
Yeah,
Embalming.
I'm really concerned about trying not to bomb the images and the meaning of the film, because in a way I think that if I don't do that, the film will be more durable in terms of time, and so that means that you have to take out as many things as all things that you think that can be really bombing the film. So for instance, there was a final what was supposed to be the final sequence for the film. It was a last dialogue between the two ladies, and it was in the square of the little village with the sun, and it was really like they were in a different place and time because it was sunny, and the dialogue was kind of funny with a little bit of political intention, and it was working for the film very well. But at the same time, it was really, I had this feeling that it was really. So at the end, we decided to make more this open ending
because it was too specific.
Yeah, because it was too specific, too easy, and I like a lot the idea of, which was actually in the play, in the author of the play wrote very little notes, and he said that for them it was very important that the play was represented in an empty theater, without not even seeing the forest. Because he wanted the forest was an image that every person in the audience could imagine what this forest that they want to go out, all the characters they want to live. What was that? It was he said he wrote it for the thinking about the Spanish dictatorship, Franco, because he wrote in the 60s, but. Again, he didn't say Franco, no? He didn't put Franco in or you cannot say in any dialogue something related to Franco, and in this way the play is, in a way, is more timeless that if he says something related to Franco in the film. So it's the same idea we wanted to keep for the film.
And you mentioned in a deleted scene that the sun was shining, because I was going to ask, does the sun ever shine in this part of the world? Because there's one scene where the sun begins to try and fight through the clouds, but the clouds finally conquer it. Is it like that all year round? And because it seems
It's
to...
not Izola.
It's not Izola.
Because it seems to infect the work on a thematic level also. There was this melancholy there that I sense. Is there a sadness there?
Yeah, when you make films without the plot, in the sense of conventional plot, you try to make construct things in the film that they make you have the feeling when you watch the film that the film is keep going. And one of them was the fight between the dark and the darkness and the light. So even though we didn't respect it actually when we were filming, because we are not a Hollywood film and we cannot change the weather and things like that, but we try to keep in the montage, in the editing, that the film keeps going little by little to the light. Also with the technical sounds, this is something that finally is not so much in the editing in the final film, but we wanted the sounds of progress will come little by little to the film. I mean, first the stone, then the wheel, then the
finally-
first engine, then the aero, the windmills, which is much more.
And finally, the music
Yeah.
as the camera sends to the heavens. We have time for one or two more questions, or no more questions. In that case, give a warm appreciation for Kino Otoks, this year's Galician guests.